I've blown it before and not started the recording, so I'm trying not to recreate that same issue.
Perfect.
I feel pretty confident that Chad has been a pretty regular attendee here, so if we want to wait a minute, or Frank, I'll leave that up to you since as the chair.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think we should. I think we should wait. I mean, we all called out an hour and a half of our time, so if we don't get started a couple minutes late, I think we'll be okay.
While we're waiting here, maybe we can just take a minute and introduce ourselves to Vin, who is new to town here. So maybe I guess I'll just call your name and you can call out. So Danny, I think you were the first one on here.
Okay. Danny Lee from Fitch Booster Club. They're a new president for 2020.
Very good. Okay,
Danny
Frank.
and I met at the Booster Club meeting we had a couple of nights ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Same way.
exactly a week ago.
Yeah, it was a week ago. Okay.
Okay, Frank.
Vin, I'm the chairman of the committee because they twisted my arm and actually all my three children have gone through the school system, and at this point in time I'm just a citizen. I've been through their graduate of Fitch, so everything that we see there today is pretty much there a while ago when I graduated, which is why we're all here.
Okay, Larry. Can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Sorry, there we go. Larry Grundy here, Vin. Nice to meet you.
You as well.
I'm a graduate of Fitch myself, and I've had two kids go through, and my youngest son is a sophomore there. Really involved with the music boosters, and especially with the Fitch marching band. So that's how I kind of got roped into this, and gladly so.
All right, Portia. Can't hear you.
Hi.
Hi.
People don't say they have trouble hearing me, so that's no. Just kidding. I'm glad that it's recording. My name is Portia Bordelon. I'm a long-term Groton resident, graduate of Fitch. I serve on the Groton Town Council, formerly on the RTM, which is another structure of government in our town. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting to know you, and two students at Fitch High School. And thank you for joining our community, and I'd love to hear more about you and where you come from.
Okay, and I got Jeff.
Yeah, hi Vince. We spoke a few days ago. We're going to meet next week. Assistant principal, Groton Middle School / athletic director. Looking forward to working with you.
You too, Jeff.
Okay, and I think we got a couple members of the public here, and I'm sure you probably have run into Rich already. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Vin and I met about a week ago, and I'm looking real forward to working with him moving forward.
Okay, and then we also have Eugenia on the call here. If you care to say anything, Eugenia.
I would just like to listen in on the meeting like we've been doing lately to see how things are going with your decisions about where to put fields. And so we're just trying to keep up with what's going on and appreciate your willingness to let us attend.
Okay, and yeah, Vinny, I guess, or Vin, I'm sorry. I'm Jerry Locke, and I'm with Groton Parks and Recreation. I'm the manager of recreation services, and part of my job is allocating field space for town-owned properties for various sport groups. So a lot of Fitch teams use Pequannock Plains Park as their home field. But in Groton, it's a little bit complicated. A lot of the fields at the schools are under the Board of Ed control. So Groton Public Schools, the middle school fields and things like that, those are not going to be under my responsibility, but a lot of the other town facilities are. So Dan, I guess maybe take a minute then and you can.
Oh, sure. Vin Varicchione. obviously new to Groton. I live right currently in Rhode Island. I've been in education for 33 years, about 18 in administration and 10 as a Rhode Island athletic director. So this is my first experience over the border in Connecticut, and happy to be. Fitch is exactly the kind of community I want to work in. You know, the size of it, the diversity of it is something I'm really looking forward to.
So Frank, we don't have anybody else that has showed up in the queue there. So I'll leave it up to you how you want to move forward. And from here, I'll hand the reins over and you can take it from here.
Well,
we just had one. We have Jim Southers just showing up. So
what is our number? Because you said you don't count, right?
Yeah, I don't count. I think we got 8. Actually 7. We've got Danny on here twice, so he's
Yeah.
called in and using his computer, I guess.
Well, my other computer, the camera doesn't work.
Yep. So yeah, we don't have a quorum. So if you want to, it's your pleasure here.
What would the committee like to do? Would you want to give it 5, or? I mean, I know that everything we talk about is
Jim jumped on.
quote
Right.
off the record, I guess.
Well, I guess off the record, I think it'd be important to, like I said at the beginning, is to restructure our number. If we have 17 committee members and we're having trouble having a quorum, therefore I think we should restructure it. With no disrespect to anybody that's currently part of the meeting, I also have missed a couple myself because I have town council meetings and I had another meeting tonight at 5. And I was happy this one moved to 7, so I could actually pick which one I could go to. I could attend both. But I know that originally at some point I had brought up how we needed some Board of Ed involvement, and then they had appointed somebody from the Board of Ed, Mr. Kotecki, the West Side assistant principal, along with the new AD. Also, they had the principal of Fitch High School. Maybe they want to condense that number into one. So maybe to cut, to give with all the, COVID stuff going on and the busyness of the reopening of the schools, I'm not sure. With no disrespect to them, they're welcome to attend whenever if they all 3 wanted to, but maybe making that position where just one of them of that group can show, and that way it would help us meet our quorum number. Because when you take that number from 17 down to 14 or 15 or whatever the number would make it be. Sorry, my math is bad. That's not good. We would make us be able to get quorum a little bit just right there. So I know it's hard for all 3 of them always to attend. I don't know, just a thought. And I know this is off the record, but this is something that we can communicate in emails or something, but just another way to kind of restructure it. Thank you.
Yep. I'm happy to do that, Portia. And I think you're right. I mean, this will be the 3rd meeting in a row that we haven't had a quorum. So, I can certainly reach out to the entire task force and have people confirm their commitments. And if they have other things that have come up in the meantime, then no hard feelings, no disrespect, no ill intent or anything like that. I think we can just, I think anybody that has participated to this point would be happy to step aside if they knew that by them doing that would allow us to move forward.
I totally agree with you. I think that's absolutely the right tack to take, because there's no one that's been on here for any committee member that hasn't been fully engaged, but things happen. And we did add people as we went along, I believe, from the initial number. I think the number has grown. So I'm all for that. Absolutely.
Okay, I think we're up to, what were we up to, 8? Is this 9?
Rachel.
Do you want to just do a roll call of committee members, make sure that we count everybody?
Yeah, I think I'm seeing everybody's name here. Rachel, are you able to hear us? Able to speak?
Yes, I'm doing this on my phone. I've never done it on my phone, so I'm trying to figure this out.
Well, so far you're doing well. And in fact, you're the lucky ninth person here from the committee. So actually we do have a quorum now and we can move forward and do some business. So Frank, it's on you.
Just before we pass it to Frank, it'd be appropriate too, since we're having trouble meeting quorum, and if we decide later to discuss reconfiguring our numbers, it'd be important to say who is present for the record at our meetings. I think it'd be, and so that way we have a number of like who's on the committee and who's present and who's absent. We do that at all of our other town meetings, and I think that would be appropriate for the record.
Okay, so yes, I do have, I am, as we're talking here, Portia, I am taking minutes and I'm noting the members who are here.
Right, but it's also good to do a roll call here at the present meeting at the live recording. That's why we're recording it. just
Oh,
for
okay, very good.
transparency
Okay.
purposes, for full
Okay, I
transparency.
see.
And when
All
people
right,
go
I'm
back and
gonna-
review, we come up with any decisions on what we want to build or do down the road, and they look who's present. It's
Yep.
good to know who was originally part of that meeting and who was in attendance. Thank you.
Gotcha. Okay. So I guess, Frank, if you call it to order, then I will take care of the roll call when,
Sorry, we'll call the meeting to order at 7:12. And we'll do the roll call first.
Okay, and
okay.
if, just say something like members present are.
Yep. And present here, we have Portia Borderland, we have Rachel Franco, we have Larry Grundy, we have Jeff Katecki, we have Danny Lee, we have Jerry Locken, we have Frank Narosky, Jim Southers, and we have a couple members of the public. We have Rich Costa and Eugenia. And also as a new member of the task force taking over for Mark Romano, we have Vin Vericchione. Is that right? Vericchione?
You got
Okay.
it. Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. Sorry I butchered that, but all right. So there we have it. I was contacted by Bruce Flax and Tara Hannaford ahead of time to tell me that they were not able to make it.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Jerry. So our first order of business is going back to review our notes. I believe everybody on the call has gotten those notes from a couple previous meetings, and we can vote to actually get them on the record. So the first one was the review of the notes from the meetings on the 2nd and the 16th. Do we have, has everybody reviewed them? Do we have a motion to pass those?
I make a
Vote
motion
on
for
those.
minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion other than that? All in favor? Ayes, or hand up.
Okay.
Any no thank yous? Any, so we're good?
Wait,
Yeah, no abstentions. So
I had a question. I think I was disconnected. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you are.
Are you approving the minutes from the last maybe 3 or 4 meetings?
so
Yes.
I guess
Because they weren't quorums. You
Correct.
can't, you can't approve, there were no minutes from those meetings.
to clarify, we were kind of accepting the notes of those meetings. They are not minutes. And we just did the two meetings that didn't have quorum. The motion was for the meetings where we had no quorum on 7/2 and 7/16. We just had some notes that we're accepting. We're not approving them or anything like that.
I'm not even sure, for full clarification, I just want to double check. I'm not sure, can we do that?
It's information that was discussed at those meetings with no quorum, so it's not an official thing. It was just, I guess that was just notes that were happened at the meeting. And, if the committee chooses to accept them, then we're not approving them or anything else. You're just kind of accepting that, yes, they've been provided.
So I guess at other meetings I've attended where there wasn't a quorum, the meeting minutes or the notes that you discussed were presented, but there was never a vote on them. They were just submitted and they're non-formal record. But I could be wrong. I'm not sure the process. I'm not sure that we can vote on something that is not technically able to really officially be record. I don't know, but someone else might know better than I.
Would not be me.
I would agree. From what I've read in the Roberts rules that you can have notes, but they're not any kind of official records whatsoever.
Okay.
No vote.
Yep. And I think I would say that's the case. And like I say, they're not minutes, they were notes, and it's just a matter of that they were provided to the members of the committee.
So should we retract our vote then?
I think, yeah, the more appropriate thing to do is to approve the minutes of the last meeting, I believe, which is the second item on the agenda there, 3.2.
Right, because we had the personnel, the quorum for that one.
That's better. Yep, that'd be perfect.
Okay, so item 3.2 is the minutes from the 18th. Do we have a motion to pass those, or to vote on those minutes, to approve those?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you.
Is that you, Jim Southers?
Thank you, Jim.
Was.
Any discussion? Comment? Okay, all in favor? Hand up.
Yes.
Any opposed?
Any abstentions?
Any abstentions?
Okay.
Rachel Franco abstaining.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yep.
Okay, I think that was all of the that we had on the threes. Now we're down to public comment. Is there any public comment? We've already identified the individuals from the public that are on our call tonight. I don't believe there's anyone else on the phone, Jerry, that I know you can see that. I can't. I don't.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess let me. No, we just have members of the public that are here. I guess we have Eugenia and Rich Costa are the members of the public that are here.
Okay.
So if they have any comment, I guess they could speak or.
Okay. So I guess we're good. So I don't know if we should do this now. So I think Councilor Bordelin had a great idea for new business. It's not on the agenda, so I don't know how we do that. So help me. If we should talk about possibly sending something out to all the committee members, just maybe with some thoughts we had talked about earlier. If anyone wanted to, I don't want to use the word leave the committee, but if we could talk to all the committee members, see if we could make our committee a little smaller so that we can more easily get a quorum. So I would put that out there as new business. I don't know any comments from anybody. I think it was a great idea. I think that we've kind of grown, things happen. Maybe we take a step back, look at make sure everybody who wants to be on board, send a note out to all the committee members and get responses back from them and see if they have any thoughts. Anyone else?
I think it's a great idea.
I agree.
Okay. Should we vote on that? Okay, good.
I don't know if you need to.
I'm all about the vote thing now.
Yeah, I don't know if you need to make a motion there. I mean, that's as a staff kind of assignment. I'll take that on. The minutes will reflect that the group is interested in just what we just talked about, and I'll follow up. So that's what the minutes will reflect.
And it would be nice to just, you could state in there, obviously that, they're more than welcome to still attend whenever they want. It's like a guest, and we'd love their input and we can recognize them. They wouldn't be eliminated, but if there's a conflict where they can't occur, come on a regular basis, then. Thank you.
And Jerry, as one of those people who's had trouble getting to these meetings, I recognize that I'm part of the problem of getting to a quorum. So if it becomes an issue, I would volunteer to step aside for the time being if we need to get the numbers down as well, and continue to work with you to make sure our needs are filled from the soccer perspective.
So next we have old business. I'm sorry, I was unable to print it down, so I'm trying to read it off my phone real quick.
So yeah, I can.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, I was
please.
just going to say, and if it's helpful, I have the, the agenda packet. I know that was kind of a big thing in the, all the PDFs and stuff. So if anybody would like me to put any of that stuff up on the screen, I believe I can do that. Is there any particular piece of that, potential locations that anybody would like to call up? If not, I guess,
No, I lost I'm sorry, the order. That's all. So what you had sent out, can you put up the one that had the chart and on where we were, or that page, the actual review of our current status? Why don't we start there?
okay, it might take me a second here to find the right window to put up there.
Because I felt that was very very informative and kind of a snapshot of what we've done to date, especially for Vin, who's first time.
Frank?
Yeah, so you sent in one of your emails that had, no, it was a view, it was said a review of our current status. Is this, and it was kind of broken out into a chart. And it had, in prior meetings, the AFTF has settled on the following overall needs, and then
Yeah,
we
I think this is this may be
Okay.
this information, maybe just
Okay.
I'm not sure in an email format, but yeah, the town needs 2 full-size synthetic rectangles. Does everybody see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
So, the summary that we had, we initially looked at what the overall town needs were based on the study that Kent Frost and Associates did. And then we also kind of looked specifically at what the needs for the multi-purpose fields were and what the needs for the ball fields were. And then the other step was we went to Fitch High School and just looked at what does Fitch High School need. And there was a lot of overlap between the two things. And if we kind of came to the conclusion that if we solved the needs at Fitch High School, we'd be well on our way to solving the needs in the rest of the community. We had Kent Frost did that conceptual plan of Fitch High School that shows, basically getting all of the needs in terms of outdoor field space. And then we were also discussing the, potential locations for other fields for the community, including Sutton Park, the impact with Grasso Tech there, and the potential of the Clodchester School property. And then there was also the Nohank School property that could potentially fit some type of a field. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of where we are. And the challenge that we have to do now is to, kind of see if we can come to a, an agreement on from the group that says, yes, we're going to do this XYZ at the high school, and yes, we're going to do XYZ at any of these other locations. So, that's the point we're at. So, if anybody has any thoughts on that or whatnot, I can, like I said, I can pull up maps or. You're muted, Frank.
I think what I noticed on your I guess I don't know how we should, what your thought is, or everyone's thought on how do you want to attack this? Do you want to start with the high school? So the Frost, Ken Frost and company kind of laid out that picture. It showed us It showed us the football field. It showed a second field down the hill. It showed adding a softball field in there because we know there isn't one up there for the high school. Yeah, this stuff here. Of course, he was conceptualizing it. But I think what we noticed when we looked at it is that I don't think any of us. I mean, I certainly didn't realize all the property that was back there, and then that was part of quote the Board of Ed or the high school's property, if you would. I think that the day that we talked about it, we discussed the two squares on the right, and they're kind of densely over in a wooded area, kind of not, yes, part of the property, but kind of would be very difficult. And then down at the actual field that's existing, Ken explained to us about how putting a full soccer field in there with a new track around it condenses the length of the field, which would make it possible to actually put a full field where the football, I'll call it the football practice field is. It would seem to work. And then there's also the possibility of putting a field down below in that other square down the hill from the existing high school field, and some of the impact of that. There's I believe there were water lines, main water lines that run through there, and it's a hill, and cost maybe be possibly quite costly. Not that I know that's not our charter, but he was just kind of saying some of the ramifications of trying to do that. And then obviously the two squares are the tennis courts, and then the softball field. When I look at this personally, it fits all the needs, because my biggest concern in your chart was that we never really addressed a baseball field, right? We seem to be one baseball field short and not really a location yet. So I don't, if we were to say seems like it would work and fit the needs of the high school, it seems like the next step down the road, we seem to have too many. If we can have too many, we've never said that in Groton before. We have too many fields, or I shouldn't say too many. We have more fields than we feel we need. Large squares, I'll call them. Seems like we would have more than we think we need. How about, if that sounds correct or not? I don't know. So my question is to the committee and anyone who wants is, what do people think about this layout, and how does it help the high school, and does it meet all their needs?
Frank, we have Rachel Franco raised her hand.
Oh, sorry, I didn't scroll down. Go ahead, Rachel, please.
So has anybody received feedback from the high school regarding this? Because I haven't been at many meetings, but I know, like, next to the, I just don't understand, like next to the football field, that open area down there where it looks like a soccer field. Yeah, right there. It looks as they use that open space there. And I'm not sure. And then behind the football field area, I don't know, is just from my experience and looking at, I guess they're called topography. I don't even know what they're called.
Topography.
I don't know.
Sure.
Where the lines are really skinny means that it's quite a hill, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's a hill. That looks like, I don't know. I'm just saying that looks like it's a lot of work. And then the other ones, like the soccer fields in the front, that's property we own, right?
This is property that we own. There is a creek that kind of goes down through here. And there's also this road that goes through here that gives this property owner access. So there's probably an easement through the town property for this property owner to get to his property. So that we're, given the complicated nature, there certainly is enough space there. but yeah, that was a couple of the limitations that were pointed out.
All right, is any of that front field, are those protected land of any sort?
These are, I don't know about protected, but there's a lot of wetlands and whatnot in here, plus the easement.
All right, because yeah, I didn't know if the front had some kind of protection, because there's a lot of wildlife down in that area, I know, and I don't think there would be a problem, but I'm just wondering if has the school chimed in on any of this? Have they seen it?
Yes, that's why we have, certainly Vin here, the new athletic director is here, and, it was shared with others, and I know that Rich is here, and I also, as a member of the public, and I see that we have a couple of people raising their hands, and I can't see who that is when I'm sharing my screen, so looks like Councilor Bordelon maybe, and
Rich.
yep, so.
Sorry, I was on mute. Okay, Councilor Bartlett.
Yes, no, there's definitely some, it's a great ideas and concepts, but we don't know what really can be done and what even the front land, if at all, right? This is all just a kind of a concept that was created that we're not sure if it's actually able to be created. I guess, I don't know, under maybe new business or something, I'd love to have the new athletic director for the high school speak to, if he has had a chance to look at our field conditions and review our supports and our complexes, or lack thereof complexes, I should say, and facilities that are in need of repair, and kind of see what his insight or thoughts are on, coming as a new athletic director. I think he has a huge challenge to meet. And I would love to, see where he's seeing. I'm not saying that Mark Romano's opinion was wrong, right? But it would be interesting to hear where the new athletic director is addressing the concerns as a new member of the team. I think it'd be appropriate to add him in here to either at the next meeting or to present what he's seeing and problems based on what he's been handed. And would that be appropriate? I know that we've had some momentum already, but I think it's appropriate to make sure that we get some comments and ideas from him as well. And just since he's going to be the one implementing the athletics at the high school, I think, and one hopes that, when someone comes on, that they're somewhat long-term, looking at the scope, really having his input and insight of where he sees the deficiencies would be very helpful, I think. Thank you. And it's good to have a fresh set of eyes, some of us have been around for a while, so I think it's good to have someone else. He's worked at different places with different, accessibility and field focus, and it'd be nice to see what background he could bring to this. It'd be much appreciated. Thank you.
Vin, so you heard Counselor. What do you think? You think you would like to?
Sure.
So
So I have not done an in-depth look at, I've been down the fields a few times and kind of going around, and I've identified some things that I think could use some work, but I wasn't looking at it for that purpose. So to answer your question, yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
And I know in my conversations with the principal, he mentioned having an engineer go down and look to see what's even feasible. Has that been done, or has that?
Yeah. So just to clarify what this map is, and it certainly isn't a construction document, but it is a conceptual document. The folks at Kent Frost have done kind of a, it's not a spitball. It's a, there's data that they've used to develop this, and the fields that are shown here are able to be constructed here. So the question that there still is, what will it take to accomplish that construction? And I think Frank, related something about a water line or something through one of the fields potentially, things like that. There are challenges, or Rachel mentioned the steep hill, and that could be a fair amount of work. And all of those things are true. But it's also true that those facilities will actually fit on the footprint of Fitch High School property. So that's a key finding, I think. Just what it's going to take to make that happen, and putting dollar signs allocated to that. That's where it's the big decision, I think, is.
I guess to clarify my ask, I guess this is just one concept that's been presented as an idea. I guess what I was tasking the new athletic director, asking if he'd be willing to bring some of his knowledge to, would be to look at all of our current sports at the high school, right down to rowing and including marching band. Taking all of those sports and looking at current fields that we currently have available to us, this being an additional idea or concept that's not been constructed, and looking at what we currently have available, taking into consideration the travel that the students have to go swimming, to go use certain fields throughout the town, softball, field hockey, where they're currently playing these sports, like field hockey was playing on the backside of the baseball field. That was a big concern in the town for students. Looking at the equality for female fields versus male fields in sports in this town. If we were tasked with anything like this, there's a concern that there's not equality here. The quality and the grade, looking at some of the reports that we've already presented at some of our past meetings, we have some fields, but they're like our football field, as far as a concussion protocol, it's very unsafe in my opinion. And that's not a report I'm reading to you. But anyway, looking at the whole marching band where they're practicing, I mean, they don't have access to nearly anything, okay? Looking at all the sports so that you have your own view coming to the table as a new athletic director who's going to be implementing these programs, and looking at the fields we currently have in existing. And I'd love to see where you think we can fit all this stuff in as a new, fresh set of eyes coming into the town, on top of looking at some of the ideas we're kind of presenting, so it kind of all meshes together. I guess that's what I was asking. Not just this idea, but I know it's COVID and we're busy, but most of the fields are outside, and the things we have, but kind of to maybe bring before us some of your thoughts of what you've seen. And it might be helpful to us to have that knowledge and insight. Thank you.
Councilor Franco has her hand up.
I was just wondering where the tennis courts are. What are the two green dots, like the rectangles in front of the tennis courts?
Those are 2 additional courts.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
So I'm just letting you know, I don't know if anybody's aware, but the tennis courts are being redone right now. And they're like last time I was up there, they were completely stripped. Everything's, all the groundwork's all done. And they got poles up for the fencing. And so I'm just letting you know that. So the new tennis courts are going in right now. I didn't realize that we were in need of more. So I'm wondering, why didn't the schools ask for more when they were going to build brand new? I don't understand that. Does anybody know?
Rich.
No, Mark brought it up when he presented the needs, what they felt the needs were at the high school.
Yeah, both this whole thing, these things I present, there's in the minutes of June 18th. Mark wasn't able to attend, so I presented his viewpoint of what we needed. He had asked at the time that those tennis courts were redesigned, that there be 2 added. I guess there wasn't the budget to do it at that time, but he still felt that if we were looking at needs, that there was a need for 2 additional tennis courts. A couple of other clarifying things. In listening to Chad, this field down here, he felt that would be probably as much work as had been done on the original when this area was built. He felt that the fill and the excavation would probably be about the same type of setup. Felt that the grade was about the same, and he felt that would be the best place if we needed another rectangle, to put that other rectangle instead of over here on the
You're
right
sitting
side.
over here, Rich, but
Yeah,
just,
yeah, it's my, yeah. The two fields in the front, he felt that they could fit in there, but again, the wetland and the road was a problem. And then the field to the south of the existing football field. And as somebody mentioned, by elongating the track and the field, a full field fits in there. And he felt that that would remain a natural field that would be renovated and would put in a full-size soccer field. And on that lower field, that really wasn't determined whether that would be a synthetic field or a grass field. So that's where all of these came from. And obviously, with the softball field was an important position for everybody, with a baseball field for Title IX, and getting a softball field up there that the girls could use and have an equal amount of facility. That was a very important part of what needed to be done. And Chad was able to he feels that it would be able to fit in there with only a minor disruption of the parking areas that were there. So that just kind of gives a review from what had been done. But obviously, with Vin on board, I think another set of eyes is a great thing. And I think that we should look at it together, and as the committee should look at it and determine what really does the committee feels needs to be accomplished.
Anyone else? I think I saw Larry wanted to speak. Larry?
Yes, so I'm assuming we're not saying we want all of these rectangles at the high school. These are just proposed sites that we could put rectangles in, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
And one of the things, I mean, I strongly believe we do need a softball field at the high school. This is just something I recently found out where the new entrance to the middle school is, where the buses are going to be. The high school has lost 80 parking spots from what I understand.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so losing more parking spots could be problematic. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Can I just jump in? How many rectangles will be needed up at the high school? And I apologize. I haven't been at numerous meetings. I have some things going on, but I haven't been able to keep up, and I'm very sorry. But I wanted to jump in so you guys could have a quorum tonight.
thank you. But yeah, Rachel, the answer to that was three. Three rectangles at the high school would accommodate the use of all high school sports.
Thank you.
And I have one more thing. Has there been any movement that anybody knows about the possibility of putting lights on the middle school field as well? Because that also is a big contributing factor to all of this, I believe.
So again, the lights at the middle school field are something that I think there is broad support for. The lights are not a part of the educational specs for the middle school, and so they're not being put in, right when it opens. But they're the superintendent, and I've heard a number of people from Groton Public Schools talk about their support for putting lights on that field. And I don't know if I can. Well, I guess yeah, we can't really get it on here. It's the property up there that we can't really see. But there are some things that are being put in place that's going to make putting lights on those fields, I think, a lot easier. There's electricity up at the site now, and there was talk about leaving conduits in place and things like that kind of would make the kind of the fit to put lights in there a little bit easier after the the educational part is done. and whether or not there is funding still left in the bond that's paying for the school and stuff like that. So there may be money that can be used to put those lights up there. And I think everybody, I haven't heard anybody say that it's not a fantastic idea to put lights on the, at least the synthetic surface field at the middle school.
I spoke to Rick Norris, who's part of the permanent school building committee. And he said, yes, they ran extra conduit because what they had there wasn't enough, but they ran extra. And so they're prepped and ready for it. And like you said, it's not in the school budget that was presented to the state. So it's not going to be the first thing. He also told me that those fields at the middle school are going to be for the middle school. And that if anybody wants to use the fields, middle school has first option. And so you have to think of whatever's on that softball, I mean, the rectangle field, probably soccer, boys, girls, their games and their practices, they'll have first priority. And if there's any available time, that's open, then other people will have an option to use it. But it's not going to be, from what I'm gathering from Rick Norris, who's sort of knows all about this, he said, it's not going to be a shared field with the high school, because some people have that impression that, well, the high school can use it. It's right there. It's actually the middle school's fields, and they will have top priority. And so and I don't know how the scheduling is going to go between the high school AD, because I think the middle school is going to have an AD as well. So they're going to have to figure things out between them. So.
And I believe they're both here on the call. So I think Jeff Pateki.
Okay. Thank you, but that's what I heard.
Yeah. So Jeff, is that pretty much meshes with what you know, I believe?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Exactly what was said is true. Yeah.
And I think, Frank, I think Councilor Bordelon has a hand up again.
How come I can't see that? Counselor, go ahead. Sorry, just me.
Thank you. I just want to, that's why I think it would be important. And once again, I apologize, Vince, if I sound very strong. I just speak like this in my normal life, everyday life. I'm not trying to task you with my demands, but I'm really excited for a fresh set of eyes as my urgency or thought process, considering you're the new AD. And I think in conjunction with that, looking at the proposal that we have, we're using that kind of as our leverage to look at things. So any opinions that you have to put forward, obviously, I mean, it'd be helpful to look and see what you see when you go through, what we offer and what fields we have available and what that their constraints are. Because I think as we move forward with the new construction of that middle school field in conjunction, the collaboration, I think we're a little, we know what we think we need, but I mean, do we have the best, and we have the best intentions in mind, but is it enough? And, one of the bigger problems in Groton is the busing of the kids everywhere. There's a huge cost to busing kids half across town because, in my opinion, only the structure of Fitch, and it's, once again, we can't beat a dead horse here, what happened, but the school was never really, in my opinion, planned to accommodate or think of like expansion of fields. And so we're kind of left with this footprint. So I think it would be awesome to have a relook at the current sports and in relation to the need assessment based on somebody new coming in. Thank you. And once again, I apologize if I come across strongly. It's just I'm passionate about this and it's been something that really needs to be done. Thank you.
As I can't see hands for some reason, is anyone else at this moment? Look like we're all good.
Is there any decision we have to make?
I don't think there's a decision that we can make. I mean,
My hand's up now.
I can't see your hand. Yes, please go.
So since we haven't had a quorum in quite some time, I think it would be better to figure out who's going to be on the committee, then literally have a conversation of what's happened in the past month or two and go over everything in full depth. And as we have the new ADs on board, have them look at everything as well. And then come back and discuss it. I mean, that's my perspective, because I can tell you right now, if you haven't had a quorum, a lot of people haven't been here and haven't been keeping up. So although you've been having meetings and discussions, a very small handful of people have had discussions, and the rest of the group wasn't here to be part of that. So, and they weren't able to comment and have debate and discussions. And then there's also some more answers that need to be, you need to get some answers to some questions. Like when you look at the site at Fitch High School, like the front 2 fields, are those protected by anything? Or what would it take from planning and zoning maybe to be even put a field up there, just due to, like you said, the wetlands? And then in the back, if it's on a steep hill, we need to find out from the school AD, the high school AD, which they use the field next to the open space next to the football field, and they use that for practice and all kinds of other things. And if you put a field there, where would they go? And then, like you also said, like, you got to find answers. Like if you put a softball field over next to the tennis courts, which I thought, why not? But is there a pipe probably there? Because I think there's some kind of pipes around there somewhere in that area. Like, is there electricity? What's going on there that would need to change? And or in the front, do you put a softball field down in the front of the school where one of those rectangle fields are? I don't know. But I just think the high school AD and the middle school AD they're probably figuring out what's going on in their own schools right now. And as the high school one is brand new, I think we should give them a little time to settle in, to get up to speed on what's going on in Groton with sports and the fields that he's going to be using, and what the other options of fields are. And that's my perspective though, because like I said, I've had some things going on in life and I wasn't able to make any of these meetings. So, and then just not having the quorum, I think it's premature to make any type of decision without having quorums for the past 2 months, but that's me. And we haven't gone through Sutton Park. Like, I don't know, the photo of Sutton Park and like discussing that and like catching up to speed, or maybe looking down at Claude Chester and catching up to speed. And then when you look at where's the other baseball field's going to go, and has anybody come up with any ideas for that? And I mean, I just think there's a lot. Instead of just starting to make decisions very quickly, we should find out more things. That's me, but thank you.
I certainly can't disagree with any of that. I think that we seem to have a lot of information, but having the new AD, having the middle school, how does that fit into the whole scheme? And then, like you said, not having a quorum for the last couple of meetings, I think that's a great idea. And so we typically would meet in whatever the date would be in a month. But I think we maybe should do like in 3 weeks, like we did, I think a couple months, we did like back-to-back meetings. And I think our next meeting would be absolutely correct. I think that's the right thing to do, and to kind of not start over at all, but where are we today? Give everybody some time to look at what's out there, especially the new AD, especially those that are going to be joining us. So everybody can review all that, look at the pictures, look at all the data, because it's all out there, and absolutely talk about that. Right. Just, like Rich said, he just put squares on maps. That was really like, oh, you could put a field here, there's enough room, with no thought like about everything you've talked about. It was more like, this could fit here, this could fit here, this could fit here. So absolutely right. But maybe after we all look at the data, we can say, oh, maybe we throw it out there. Maybe we need to put a softball field somewhere else and only have 2 rectangles up there because we can't get a third one, whatever the case may be. So I absolutely agree.
So Franca, just for a point of clarification, I don't think they just took rectangles and put them up there. You know, Kent Frost actually went through it, and you know, there's a high degree of confidence that when they say they can fit a field there, they can fit a field there. So, you know, there are lots of details that kind of go into that, but you know, at the bottom line is the fields that I think they show on their plans, those fields could go in there.
No, I agree with you totally. No, I wasn't trying to say he just put squares in. He was, no, his point was there is enough space in this area to put a full field, which, and he totally spoke about the issues that could be involved. He was very upfront about that, but yes, I agree with you. Yes.
Can I ask a question of clarification?
Yeah, absolutely.
So as our task force, like, are we supposed, like, we can say, like, say the area behind the football field that's down the hill, like, are we the ones that are supposed to figure out whether that's feasible or not? Or do we just recommend where we think the fields would be best, where we think the fields would best serve? You know what I mean? Like, how far do we go with this? Because I mean, this could take a really long time.
It could, and the expertise for doing a lot of that work is not on, you know, I mean, it's that stuff you need engineers and people to pay for. The task of this of the task force is to kind of determine the need in the community of what fields we need, you know, and the next thing is where those fields might go to meet that need, and then the third is to, you know, ideally come up with some kind of a maybe really spitball estimate on what it's going to cost, and present that to the, you know, the elected officials in the community to say that here's the need, here's our best idea of where locations make the most sense, and you know, here's an approximate cost that it's going to take to do this, and to bring that forward. And then from there, it's, you know, it's up to the elected officials in the town to decide how, if at all, they want to, you know, address it. But the other thing, and since we do have a fair number of new people here on the call, I would just say this task force was formed early in 2020 by the town council, and with the intention that, you know, by the end of 2020 we would be you know, kind of having a kind of a scope of a project to propose to those elected officials that they could you know, contemplate for the next budget season, you know, the 2022 budget, I guess. So that's kind of, you know, in a nutshell, that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, I was just going to say also to take in mind into account that it's not just the fields. One of the things that also we're struggling with is the lack of facilities to support our playing fields. Our field house at the high school is outdated. There's not even a female locker room in that building. Things like that need to also be part of that big picture when we're looking at just fields. We can say, great, we could have fields everywhere. I mean, I don't know how many times I go to the baseball field and there's not a women's room open and it's only an outhouse, okay? You know, as people that have illnesses in their families or cancer survivors or things like that, they shouldn't be going into an outhouse. Why do we not have proper facilities open in our community at our fields for sports? People who are handicapped shouldn't have to worry about going into an outhouse at the high school. You know, as a town, it's important that we're providing the facilities too, and making sure things are ABA compliant. That's another concern. You know, our current football field, people with disabilities or identify having disabilities can't get onto the bleachers and sit with their family. They have to sit low down in their wheelchair or their crutch or whatever it is at the height of a small fence and look through it. They can't be with their family. Look at Waterford, where you can wheel yourself right up. So when we look at all of this, these are the other things of why I wanted to be involved, is to make sure that we're looking at the facilities, making sure girls have accurate accommodations for locker rooms and equipment storage for the track and field teams to the field hockey. There's a better concept. Our concession stand, way outdated. I've been, you know, that building, looking at that as a construction. So it's the fields and the facilities, which brings in the revenue and has, you know, the ability to have tournaments, and people say, oh, let's have our, you know, performance there, like marching band. It's not just the sport, it's also, we got to accommodate them. They are underserved as well, I feel, in the field sector. And they have a huge body of students that are active. So I just think that that's important to look at also is, the accommodation of facilities. When you go to these fields, there's not proper accommodations like some of our counterparts close by in neighboring communities and towns that are performing a little bit better in their structure of facilities and fields. So I just don't want to lose sight of that, I guess, is when we say we're going to put all these fields here. Well, where do you picture the field house and the concession stand becoming one, or taking the bleachers and putting the boys' locker room underneath it, making really our speaker system out there for the marching band is and announcing of sports, that whole stand up there is way outdated. So all of this needs repair. It's not just, where can we put fields and did we meet that? It's the whole vision point of what this will bring. Thank you.
Anyone else comments?
I do. I'm sorry to just keep chiming in.
No, go ahead.
But since a lot of these are at schools and at like Claude Chester and up at the high school, and have we ever, and then there's the middle school, and has anybody thought of bringing in some people from maybe the permanent school building or somewhere in the, like, I don't know, up at the school administration, just because there's actually, like, when you're saying you could put a field here, but then you look underground and there's pipes and there's electricity and there's all these, sewer lines. We don't even know what's under the ground and what could go actually there, considering those things underground. Maybe somebody that understands a little bit more of what's happening on the property as well might be good, just because, you could say, yeah, we'd like to have 3 fields up there, but then when you look in, like at the high school, like you said, somebody said there's some pipes or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking that maybe we should, and not to join the committee, but just to come as a guest to answer some questions of what they may know and put some, to chime in. Because I would hate to see us send a presentation to the council and say, here is, we come up with this great design, but then some town staff get involved and say, yeah, you can't put a field there because there's pipes, and you can't put a field there because there's conservation land. You can't put something over there because there's wetlands. So I think that we have to do more work to make sure that these things are okay to do. Like, I know I saw your picture for Sutton Park, and it's changed so that there's going to be, like, it looked like there were 3 fields, and the whole, like, so basically, let me ask you, so the concept is to scrape the 2 fields there completely and then put in 3 fields. Is that what the look was to do?
So yeah, if I take a second here, I think I can pull that one up again. Sorry for my scrolling.
I apologize if I can't answer someone, but my internet is very sketchy.
Okay, so this is actually Sutton Park, and there are 2 ball fields here now. What Kent Frost did for Sutton Park, there are 2 ball fields down there, and with some reconfiguring of the parking and whatnot, there is a Sutton Park master plan that was done almost 10 years ago now, that talked about reconfiguring the fields back there to make the 2 fields into 3 fields. And based on feedback from the Athletic Fields Task Force, they also talked about an intermediate sized baseball field. And so the one over here with this light green kind of thing, that's the intermediate sized baseball field kind of option. And again, this is just another kind of, could we possibly cram something in there? That's a kind of approximates what that is. That would be a really tight thing, but could it be done? Yes, it could be done. This is a reflection of the plan from 10 years ago, what could be done at the back of Sutton Park in terms of 3 ball fields. Currently, there's a softball field here and a little league field here, and and most of this field would be a kind of a parking area that is there now that would be moved to this area over here and allow us to put those 3 fields in. So I don't know if that answers your question, Rachel.
Right, because the 2 fields that are there are facing different directions. So
Correct.
it would basically be scrape the whole area.
Yep.
And start fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just like maybe upgrading, I mean, like fixing what we have. This is like a brand new, fresh 3 fields.
Yes, they would be reconstructed. Yes.
Mm. And then, so over at Claude Chester, how many fields do you think you can fit over there? And there was some kind of question, like if you put fields up at the high school, does that take into consideration what you're adding over at Sutton, over at Claude Chester? Would you still need the fields up at the high school if you put more in down at?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this map here, this is Pequannock Plains Park. There are 3 rectangles in this area right now. This is Claude Chester School, and this plan kind of shows that you could potentially fit in 3 multi-purpose rectangles. You know, and if you, I'm certain that you know, it doesn't have like a ball field here or an intermediate ball field, but you know, if the choice or the, you know, the will of the task force was to put a ball field instead of a multi-purpose field, that those are all possibilities. I think in addition to the fields at the high school, I think, and if I can, sorry, I'm for my scrolling again. I believe that we had community would still need a couple of multi-purpose fields, and that is on, I apologize again for my scrolling and clicking.
Oh, fine.
So, you know, the we got the 2 additional full-size rectangles up at the high school, we would still need, you know, there's a total of 4 full-size rectangles that the town needs to add. 2 of those go up at the high school. 2 would need to go somewhere else. You know, in this plan at Claude Chester shows that 3 could potentially go there. But then there are also these other needs of ball fields and an intermediate sized baseball field. So, you know, would Claude Chester be a good spot for that? Would Knowing School be a good spot for something like that? Or, you know, those are all questions that we haven't, you know, that's where we're at. We need to kind of begin to plug these identified needs into these spaces that have been identified. And I guess I would go even a step further that, you know, the consensus of the task force to this point has been, you know, to concentrate on those properties. The highest property obviously is the high school. It seems to be the one that's receiving the most attention. Certainly Claude Chester is receiving a lot of attention. Sutton Park is receiving a lot of attention. And then I think beyond that, the next possible spot would be like a lone field, perhaps at Knowing School. And then kind of in parallel, the activity that's going on at Grasso Tech with the work up at the Grasso Tech School, you know, that's just kind of been like an anecdote or a, you know, a sideline kind of thing that we've talked about what's happening there.
So just to let you know, the council voted and they won't allow any type of regulation field up at the Knowing School. So that's out and you can cross that off your list.
Okay.
We'll put that in the done bucket, just like Pleasant Valley.
Yeah.
I just wanted to also add that it's important that before the last AD left, I did sit on a group with Coach Costa was a part of it, where we talked about looking at improving our regulations for eligibility to play sports, because currently we follow the basic guidelines. And so one of the things that came out of that meeting that was really important, that still rings into my head, and being a former student at Fitch, as much as I want to kind of keep all the fields at Fitch as much as possible, there is a restraint based on the lay of the land up there. There just isn't a lot of space left anymore. But as much as we can keep up there is so important because it allows athletes to have accessibility to after school tutoring and accessibility to help with one of the most important reasons why they're in school is, to get an education and to be able to access after school requirements if need be, if they fell below the grade level, because transportation issues come into play. Most people are working at 2:05 or 2:15 or 3 o'clock when students are let out of school and then need to be transported to these fields far away. And so when they have to stay after to make up a test or catch up on schoolwork, and that bus that took them there has already taken them to, I don't know, the park across town, these students are now sitting here, athletes are not getting able to get to these fields. They're stuck kind of without a ride. So it is really important to make sure that we look at the concept as much as we can to have as much as we can happen within the proximity of the school. It's one thing to have the fields, but if the students can't get to the fields, then that accessibility is another problem. So I think, as much as the drawing that we got, who knows where that can go and what can really be done. I think it was an effort, which I can appreciate, to try to see what we could in the crazy world, try to fit as many fields at the high school so that students have that campus feel where they're on, they study and play and have that Falcon pride, and not have everything bust all over. So that's my envision or hope, is to be able to have the students play there. The other thing is looking at the football field, also considering in our notes down the road, do we want turf? If so, what type of turf is really the best type to have long term? Looking at our waterways and environmental aspects, but having a turf type field is very important, and especially for marching band and football, and to be able to have other competitions come to our town, having that type of structure. So, converting some of this stuff. But also looking at our track, looking at our field, I know that the track field was resurfaced at one point, but our long jump surface going down, I was up there walking the other day myself, and it's deplorable. Has not been resurfaced. The long jump pit, and I was embarrassed for our students in the town. So, that's something I'm going to be bringing up on my own. But just looking at everything and what that could look like as far as resurfacing that football field. I know there was talk and there was a motion for a CIP to cap the top of that field and bring in some dirt because it's dipping down and it is a safety hazard from my perspective, as far as marching band and concussions for football. But if we're thinking, or a recommendation is going to say something like we want a turf field, we should probably hold off on that money, but to what extent and how long, because we need the surface. So I don't know, just some more thoughts that are generating in my head. Thank you.
Go ahead, Rich.
To kind of piggyback on what Portia said, that athletic eligibility committee was formed by the principal, and as Portia said, one of the main conclusions was for working with the students, it's very difficult if we have to transport them off of campus. And it really limits the amount of extra help that we can give right after school. So when I think that was really paramount in Mark's mind when he made that recommendation about having the fields up at the high school, the softball field, the 2 additional rectangles, because that was a very important point. And just the history of the track, yes, the track was probably resurfaced about 12 years ago now, but the field events, the field event areas were not. The money ran out so that none of the field event areas were addressed. So the high jump area, the long jump area, the pole vault area, those are all 25 years old and have not been addressed from that point. Because when the track was surfaced, which was a great thing, those areas were kind of left out because there was no, the money ran out on just the renovation of the track.
Can I just jump in?
Go ahead.
So the only thing that, I mean, you found some spots for most all the fields except for what's left, like the large size baseball fields. So then, are there any other locations that town-owned property? Has anybody looked into that? And if not, is there property to purchase? Because I know I have had numerous people tell me a good place for a baseball complex in Groton would be, I believe it's called Bridebrook. It's a golf course over by,
Yep, the old par 3. Yep.
yeah, over by High Rock Trailer Park there.
Yep.
And that, I know it's for, I think it's for sale. It's in the millions of dollars, but it's, I mean, I don't know. So I'm just throwing these things out because, I mean, if you figured out the locations for numerous things, like we want most all the high school fields to be at the high school, of course we do. And then we have the other fields, but you still haven't found locations for other fields. And the baseball fields, I mean, you're just not going to fit baseball fields up at the high school either. So
Right.
has anybody figured that part out? I mean, and my thought is like, I know there's lots of other things to be done and there's ADA compliance and there's, you know, facilities and all that. But I think the first step on the agenda, like, is to figure out locations and then what can go on those locations and then what kind of facilities can go there and what types of, you know, like grandstands, or can we put restrooms or can we not? And I think those come after you figure out the locations that you are really interested in. That's how I think of it. But, and if your locations don't work because the facilities won't fit either, then you might have to change it then. And then maybe after you start whittling it down to the, you know, you start, you know, with the big picture and start whittling your way down to the, you know, the smaller things on, you know, checklist that of things that are wants and needs. So, and then I think also it shouldn't be like, well, we want this or we don't want that. I think it should be come in a big package and let the council figure out what they want. I mean, it could be like, you want a big giant complex up at the high school and here's all the wonderful things we could do, but they'll let the council decide in a budget what they want to take out of their budget or what they're willing to fund or what they're willing to go to referendum with the whole kit and caboodle, and you never know. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think anything should be held back right now. And I think you put everything in there and things could be whittled out and let them make those decisions. And into a sense of it, it has been mentioned by a couple of counselors, like, look, there's counselors on the sports task force. So, and in a sense, I don't want to say too much and put too much feedback into everything. And I would rather have all of you make a lot of the decisions and just maybe listen and learn. But because I mean, I'm going to have to vote on this later. And I'm already getting, you know, I think some counselors are poking at it like, look she's part of this and she's going to get what she wants. And I don't want it to look like that. I want you guys to come up with a plan and present it to us. But I want to hear more about it and I just have questions, and I don't want to lead and direct you on a decision of where things should go. I just have questions on, all right, if you do select that spot, is there pipes underground? Is it protected land? Those are the kind of questions that I'm having. So, but I think looking at the high school, I like what's being designed up there. I like that you're having all the fields that you can up there and fitting it in the best you can. And if it can happen, me personally, I think it's great. So, and that's it. I'm gonna quiet down now. So.
No, Rachel, I would say to you that I think we are literally at that point. I think that we've gone through all the information, the data, and I think we are to that point. And I think that's the next step of this committee is to start really trying to do that. It's going to be very difficult for us to know whether or not we can put that field below on the west side or beneath the football field that's there now. But what we can say maybe is, geez, it looks, you know, we've determined that it can fit there. And if it can get us another field on the high school, then that's a good thing. But if that doesn't work, then maybe go to plan B or we have other options. But I believe we are at that point. It's exactly where we are to try to put things where we can and come up with those thoughts. I've actually was over there the other day at Bridebrook thinking the same exact thing in my head. It was so funny that you brought that up. Larry, you wanted to say something? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Larry. Can you guys
So,
hear me? Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
So I think about 45 minutes ago, we discussed maybe resetting with who the committee would be, and this discussion is good, but any more discussion, shouldn't we wait until we know who the committee's going to be? Like who's going to stay as a part of the task force?
Yeah.
Because then we're just rehashing everything over and over and over and over again.
I'll put my 2 cents in. I'd rather have the committee be people from my community. And as a counselor, I don't want to be on the committee. I would rather have you guys make the decision. So, because I will be voting on this later. I would like to come as a guest and listen and, you know, but I would rather have all of you make the decision and send it to the council and me jump in here and there and listen and hear what you're saying, but you guys make the decisions.
I feel differently. I want to stay on the committee and still be a part of it. I mean, I think I'm a taxpayer just like a counselor, and my one decision or thought on it's not going to alter obviously 8 other people. And I just feel very interested in the fields as a mother of 2 children and a former Fitch High School student. So I do think it's important that I remain on. And even though I'm going to have a chance to vote on it later, I'm just throwing out all the things and things that I see from, you know, not from the council side, but also I also feel there should be a process in which the Board of Ed has a process in this and an investment, because an obligation, because the taxpayers, yes, it comes to the council, but the Board of Ed usually, you know, identifies the need first. Usually in most districts that I notice, it's like, we need this. And then the Board of Ed then figures out ways to get grants or funding. And then whatever they fall short, then they bring it to the town, I've seen. So it would be interesting to see. I know the town council created this task because we felt there was a need and an outpouring, you know, need for this. But I wish there was more of that coming from the Board of Ed side, in them saying, you know what, we're going to apply for a grant like Ledger did to redo their fields, right? And then went to the town council. So I don't know. I mean, I think, you know, it should be kind of, and I think this is why we have, you know, accessories at our track field that are 25 years old and still not resurfaced, because who is the board members overseeing our sports fields is the problem. So I do feel like it's a bit of a redundancy, and I do understand where Mr. Grundy's coming from, because we keep saying all this stuff, but I think the problem that we have identified, or at least that I walk away every time from this meeting, is who is really supposed to be overseeing this, and who in our community is the overseer of the structure and placement of our fields and the quality and management. That's what I walk away still kind of confused. So, but I plan to stay on and show up and be a part to make sure you guys have quorum and be here as much as I can. So, thank you.
Okay, in the interest of time, so it's 25 after 8. I think we need to have, well, for our next meeting, we'll talk about that in a second, but I think Jerry's going to send out the note and see how we do with the membership. I think we should have our next meeting be where are we now? This is what we've gone through. Here we are, here's where we all are. And I think here's all the data points. We know what we want, we know what we need, and trying to go to that next step. Bringing ideas to the table on areas that we see in the town that can be utilized. We have the Frost, Ken Frost pictures and everything he's done, which is awesome. And I think we can start putting that plan, begin to start putting that plan together. And maybe we start with the high school, kind of figure that out. We see what we like, and we might not know all the answers. We don't know if it's going to cost some bazillion dollars to put a field below the field that's down there, you know, but we can say it fits there, and we think it would be the best interest of everyone involved, and we can go from there. So I think, and then at our follow-on meeting after that, then we can start, you know, depending on how far we get, then we can start actually getting into the meat on where we want to put things. Because I think that is the next step. So everyone's homework assignment should be, what could we use that we haven't already identified? Rachel brought up Bradbrook, which is a great idea. Again, our task force, though we want everything that we have are we're not, quote, we are trying to put a number on it, but it's going to be really hard for us to do that. I don't know how we're going to do that, but ideas like that are great, because I'm told that it looks like a space that's out there that could do whatever we needed, and maybe it'd be great. So what I would suggest is our next scheduled meeting should be the 17th of September. I think I think if we do it a week before that also, maybe on the 10th, I think we can start going down that process. Vin will be here another 3 weeks, so he'll know everything he needs to know within 3 weeks.
I think the 17th is good. I know Ben and I have our Fitch booster meeting on the 10th.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not available on the 10th.
Okay. Well, why don't we do you want to go the week before that, or do you want to go that quickly, or do you want to wait till the 17th, which is our scheduled meeting?
Should we ask some of the things, information we have to get back? I mean, does Vincent or Vin, I don't want to call you Vin if you don't go by Vin or Vincent, I'm sorry. Does he have a timeline where he's got, and also looking at Mr. Kotecki in reference to the middle school fields? I know there's a lot of opening things going on, so I don't know what their time restraints are, and I want to give them the fair shot to come forward with some information if they have any. What timeline would you guys need or seem fit to help you guys too?
I would prefer the 17th. I think before then, like you just said, I don't think we're going to have enough time to get our ideas together.
17 is good with me as well.
So just throwing this out there, our traditional meeting time is at 5 o'clock, and part of, I think, the problem we were having with quorums was the 5 o'clock meeting time. Obviously, if I ask everybody is 7 o'clock a better time, those people who are here are probably going to say yes because they're here. So I don't know. Do we want to ask the other members again to see if there's a better time on that Thursday, or do we want to stick with the 7 o'clock time slot, move back to the 5 o'clock time slot? What's everybody's kind of pleasure here? So when I send a message out that
I'm flexible either way. I like the 7.
I like the
It's a little
7.
easier with my work schedule. But I think when we determine who's going to stay a part of the task force, then we can ask those people
Right.
what would work
They
best.
weren't showing up at 5 o'clock either.
I like the 7 o'clock, with 2 kids and I work 30 minutes away. Sometimes I'm home like around 4:30 and, running up to the high school to pick somebody up and then trying to run back here. It kind of be tough with dinner, dog, most of the meetings that I attend are usually around 6 or 6:30, it seems, for the town. Different ones that I'm a part of. 5 is kind of that weird, funky, like you're at work late because there's a problem.
Get
kind
off
of
work
time.
time.
Yeah, or you're still at work because there's a problem, and that's never good either. So,
Right.
so a little bit later than 5 would work better for me, but I'm just one outlier, so I'd be willing to bend anyway.
If it makes you
7
feel any better,
works for me.
If it makes you feel any better, I haven't had dinner yet.
I like 7 personally,
too.
but I'm either way.
7 is better for me as well.
Frank, you're the chair. Make the decision.
7.
Good.
And I think keeping it around the same time and trying not to move it, I think would be good for continuity as well, just to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
all right.
I like it.
So that's what I'll do. I will pull all of the members that we have listed and let them know that the next meeting is on Thursdays at 7. And if we keep that consistent, that may even help those folks make a decision on whether or not they can continue to be involved if that's the case. So that sounds like a good workable plan.
Okay.
Thanks, Jerry.
So if we have no other discussion, then our next meeting will be the 17th of September at 7 o'clock.
All right, I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you, Ben. Good luck.
Meet you.
Right. You got to vote on that.
All in favor?
I hope you come back, Vin. I'm sorry. There you go.
I can scare easily. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Look forward to meeting you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.